So, why don't you just give me your name and your title?
Spoljaric, CEO of Aloe Health.
And tell me a little bit about your product. How does this work?
Sure. So this actually started out for myself. I was struggling taking care of my parents. I'm a long distance caregiver. So for me, uh, it was a guilt process that I was dealing with. I was trying to find ways to help my parents, and being a parent of three young children and balancing that out was really challenging. On top of that, I was a long distance caregiver. And on top of that, I'm an only child. So for me, I was looking for devices out there and I searched everywhere. I could not find anything to help me in the way that I want to get help. So I sat down with friends of mine who are also entrepreneurs and have technology backgrounds. And I said to them, here's what I'm struggling with. And turns out that they are as well. And we realized that we could probably build a really nice product that could help not only ourselves, but many other people out there.
So, and by the way, do you happen to know how many long distance caregivers there are out there?
There are actually 45 million caregivers in the United States that are families like myself struggling to take care of their loved ones.
And so, walk me through how this works, what the product does, what some of its major features are.
So we had to look at it from several ways. We had to do something for the caregivers to obviously make their lives better and easier for them to care, but we also had to look at the elder's perspective as well, because you could have the best platform for the caregiver, but the elder doesn't want to use it. It's really not going to work. So we looked at it from their perspective first, and we found that there were some challenges that they were dealing with when it came to communication. So we want to provide a solution that could help them communicate better. So we have a voice-activated hub. It's called a smart hub. It has all kinds of different functionalities, but one of the key functionalities is the ability to basically say, call my son, or I want to talk to my daughter, and it connects them directly to their family members, because we learned that it's about up to 10 years of hearing or vision impairment that they're challenged with before they actually do something about it. And because of that, it's really difficult for them to stay communicated with their family members, and isolation is a cause of that. So we want to connect them, and that was really the starting point. And then from the caregiver's perspective, when you think of caring, there is no one size fits all, but it's really challenged because we could all be caregivers and we're at different points in our caring life cycle, but how can we help? And so we wanted to build a solution that can grow with you. And so our solution does multiple things, but one of the most important things was this peace of mind with safety. When you think of safety, that's probably the most important thing when it comes to caring. And so we want to build a solution that really could address that. And I don't know how much you know about the personal emergency response market, but over 86% of people will not wear that device 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if they don't have it on, how can it help? So we want to address that. Then we actually want to address the challenge of coordination. When you think of coordinating, I believe you have a sister. Coordinating is very difficult. You know, when you think about it, everyone has their own busy lives. But how do you coordinate that, your busy life, with also taking care of your loved one? And so we want to help with that as well, because fragmentation of information is a real challenge. And that usually is what the cause of actually the support system, how they can help better, is the lack of information doesn't bring that to them. So by bringing all this information into one location, you can now start to provide tools and information that people weren't aware of. And so we want to focus on that. And then the other part was communication. When you think of communicating amongst family members, if I were to say, what do you use for texting and what do I use for texting, we ask everyone else in the room, there's probably 3 or 4 different ways of doing it. We found that that's another way of fragmentation that we can bring together by bringing this communication to one portal. So communication, coordination, and safety, and you create this ecosystem of support. And that's what we did.
So, tell me a little about specifically. I understand that you can monitor your loved one from afar, like their behavior, how long they spend in the bathroom, and talk a little bit about how that works.
So there's many parts to it. So we have a hardware aspect, which is a smart hub. And the smart hub has a lot of functionality. It has air quality, it measures movement, light, it has voice recognition. It has redundancy to ensure that it's up and running. We run on 4G, we run on Wi-Fi. We have different protocols of connecting, Zigbee and Z-Wave, for people that have different types of devices they may need to connect with us, such as cochlear transplant that's Bluetooth enabled. It can now connect to our system. So if there's an emergency, they will hear it, where normally they may not. So that's the hub. Then we have sensors that we put throughout the home that allow us to kind of monitor habits, because one of the things that is a huge identifier of health changes is movement. So if we can pick up on that ahead of time, we can tend to catch things that normally you wouldn't, because your mom or dad are not going to call you and say, by the way, I went to the bathroom 4 times last night, or I slept in bed till 10:30 today when normally I get up at 8:30. But for us to know that passively without making them feel like we're intruding on their home is a real key for us, and it allows us to monitor them from afar. So we have that, and then we also have fall sensors. And the one thing we realized, as I mentioned before, they don't want to wear anything. And especially at nighttime when most falls occur, they just get out of the bed or they go into the bathroom, and that's when it happens. And unfortunately, they're stuck on the ground until someone finds them. So we want to have fall sensors that can monitor the room, and these are radar-based, so we can identify if they're standing, sitting, or have fallen on the ground. And even if they're unconscious, our device still recognizes this. And by recognizing this, we can tell our call center, who specializes in emergency response, that an elder has fallen, they're not being responsive, you need to send an EMT there. And on top of that, we provide enough information behind it that they know where the address is, they know what floor they're on, and they even know what room they're in.
Great, and I understand it also provides an ability for siblings to, or whoever is coordinating care, to see who was checked in most recently with the parent, that there's like a log that they can check and see who last called, when they called, or if they didn't call.
Yeah, so we underestimated that. It was really interesting. For check-ins, we discovered that, unfortunately, when it comes to coordinating again, people always assume someone else does something, and they end up not doing it. And one of the biggest things was checking in on someone that is being cared for. And so we've had various scenarios, but it's really unfortunate because a simple phone call could solve a problem. But the other person doesn't know if you made that phone call or not. That's within the family. So this check-in feature allows us to check in by clicking on this feature that connects to our device in the house. It allows us to talk to mom or dad. We can assess how they're doing, just a regular conversation like a phone call. And then afterwards, we can actually put a quick note in, or we can say, mom's not feeling good, please call her when you get a chance. And everyone in the network gets that information, and now they know that, A, I've checked in on mom at a certain time. Our system also will let you know if someone has not checked in within a certain time frame. Let's say someone who has dementia may need more care than someone that doesn't, and you want to check in more frequently. Our system will allow you to know that. So it'll say it's been 5 hours, no one has checked in. Someone should see how mom or dad is doing.
Got it. And when did you launch? Have you officially launched?
So we ran a beta program. I think one of the things as entrepreneurs, we realize that we can build things that we want, but we want to make sure we're building something that the audience needs. And so we spent over a year working with different agencies, home care assistance agencies, nursing facilities, personal emergency response dealers, caregivers themselves, both personal and professional, and we wanted feedback for them. So we spent a year doing that. And we ran a beta program because they became part of our usability study, and they helped us define what we built today. And now that we have that done, we're actually launching our production unit, going into the market in about 2 weeks.
Great, so this is very timely.
Yes.
And can anybody install this system, or do you need to hire somebody to come out?
Great question. So we realized that the different levels of people that understand how to set up technology varies, and we want to make it as simple as possible. So our system is actually set up where once you literally plug it in, it starts to configure itself. But we also want to take into consideration who our partners are. And from our standpoint, we're doing working with partners such as home care assistance agencies and nursing facilities and personal emergency response dealers, and we want them to help us get it set up. So for home care assistance agencies, for example, they're in the home every day. So we are actually going to train them to say, here's how you set it up. And it's more placement than anything else. The system itself is really self-explanatory.
Great. This is a very fast-growing field, given that so many people want to age in place. I think the majority of older people do. Like, I know Best Buy has a lot of remote sensing, hitting the marketplace. There's lots of different technologies and products out there. What niche do you fill? What makes you unique?
Yeah. So what we did is we built a purpose-based solution. We actually started from scratch versus other companies that bought off-the-shelf components. And I think that was the biggest challenge is when you look at the industry, people are buying products and then trying to make them retrofit into that lifestyle. What we want to do is build a product that actually was part of their life. And I think from our standpoint, there are companies out there doing it, but they're doing pieces of this. They're not creating this holistic approach because, once again, caring is not one size fits all. There are sensor companies out there, there are personal emergency response companies, but they don't work together. And so we want to bring it all together.
And how much does it cost?
So we also want to make it very affordable. So it's $60 a month, $2 a day, and it provides the unlimited solution that we just offered, that I just told you about.
And how can people learn more about it? What's your website?
Sure. It's aloecare.com.
Great. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for your
thank
time.
you. Appreciate it.